She got the remedy.
Every night around this time, you know, I always go outside to get fresh air. And I always see this ball, bluish white ball of light. It comes down. It's the size of a street light. The last time it came right in front of me. Mm-hmm. Now I'm thinking maybe it's part of a meteorite or something. But before it hit the ground, it just vanished. And it almost landed right in front of me. So I walked up a little bit to go look. I didn't see a piece of rock or nothing. And it's the second time it's been happening.
Really?
It's always a bluish white ball.
Is it perfectly symmetrical? Is it perfectly round, or does it have just a round shape to it?
It's a round shape and has like a little short tail. I always have a short tail, not a long tail, but kind of short, about the size of my hand.
Okay.
Like the tail probably about the size of my hand.
It really sounds like a spiritual energy, angelic being to me. That's what it sounds like. You know, for example, if Bennett travels across the sky, if a spiritual being travels across the sky, they appear to be a comet, or we appear to be comets when we fly across the sky, because we leave a luminous trail behind us, right? But the truth of it is, I can't describe your experience, but it is fascinating. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Okay, go ahead. What's your question, my brother?
And you know, I was wondering who is our God? You know, like,
who is our God? Right? Okay, that's a serious question. Now, in order to answer that, we have to almost throw everything out of our mind that we've learned in conventional religion. Are you a Nawapian, or you have a denomination as a Christian or something to that effect? Are you familiar with this affirmation? I am in the love of all, and all love is in me. I am a part of all, and all is a part of me. I am one with all, and all is one with me. I can succeed as a part of all and fail as an individual. I can be all that I wish in all. As long as I wish to stay in all, I am never alone. All is, I am. All can, I can. All does, I do. All right, if you look at it from a Christian or religious perspective, you know the Holy Bible says that the kingdom of heaven is inside or within you, right?
Yes.
Okay, now my question would be, where is God? Isn't he also described as being in heaven?
Yes.
Our Father who art in... Okay, so if heaven's inside you, where would God be?
Inside me.
Correct, right. So the temple he's in is not a building down the street, but the place on the side of your next to your ears, right? God is the inner being, the life force inside of El Hayu. It's the one that keeps you breathing and your heart beating and regulated at night when you don't have conscious input as to say, I got to remember to keep my heart beating. He's that silent, he's the one that's still looking when you close your eyes, right? Okay? In other words, the mythological concept that we've been given by people that God is a bald-headed white man with a beard out there somewhere unprovable in the cloud is the thing that separates us from our own divinity and the reality of our own higher consciousness being the creator. Are you following me?
Yes.
What I try to do then is just open up the doors inside your mind, sort of leading to try to maybe provide you a platform to answer more questions, so that if you're not clear on it, you can start asking, keep turning it till you get what you want and need from me, right?
Yes.
It's important to understand that, understand that completely, right? Okay, so, are you clear about it, or you need more?
I'm saying, so you saying God is in me?
Yes. And God is also in me, but there's only one God, because it's taught by the master teacher, Nitya Atum, where you are the center of existence, and all things are equal distance from you. In other words, the phone in your hand and the moon are the same distance from you. You're the center of existence, and he's also the axis in Colorado. I'm the center of existence, and I'm in Georgia, wherever you are. So if the illusion is that the center is in three different places, the reality of it is if that everything was in the same place at the same time. Are you following me?
Yes.
So, in other words, there's only one center, there's only one God, and there's only one entity. So what it is that you, at the highest level of your being, are consciousness, divine love, which is the only reality. Everything else is mere illusion. And everything that you call creation is something that you incarnated and manifested inside of your mind, inside of your thoughts, from the mental reservoir. Are you following me? It's all going on inside your mind. It's like you took a nap somewhere, and while you slept, you dreamed that you were in California, you were in Chicago, you were young, you were old, you met this person and that person. While all these activities in these different places are going on, as you wake up now, you realize your head never left the pillow. It was all happening right here and right now. The confusion is when you open your eyes and then you see what appears to be outside, you think that there's a difference from what you see on the inside. In other words, if you're in a room right now, could you focus on the object in the room and describe what you see? Any object.
A lamp.
Okay, now I want you to close your eyes and see that same lamp. I'd like everybody to do the same exercise. find an object in the room you're in, focus on it, put your eyes open, and then close your eyes and see the object inside your mind clearly. You can do that, right?
Right.
Okay. My question is what is the one that you see with your eyes closed? What is that one made of? What thought?
Right.
Go. Anything you can conceptualize, you can visualize, actualize, materialize, and thereby realize. There's a thought that creates the energy that shapes the forms of matter, right? Okay, so it's made of thought. See, the confusion is when you open your eyes and see the lamp out there, you think that that one's made of something different than the one you see in your mind, but it's not. In fact, the reverse is true. The one out there is a reflection of the one inside, rather than you thinking that the one that you saw outside is giving you the image or the impression that you receive inside your mind now. It's the reverse.
Right.
In other words, everything's originating from your mind. There is no out there, right? Because everything you can see with your eyes open, you can also see with them closed, and yet there are many, many things you can see with your eyes closed that you can't see with them open. In other words, you can see more than the lamp in there. You can see the sun at high noon inside there right now. You can see the front of your house from the inside of it inside there right now, because that blackness, when you close your eyes without thought, is the multiverse, or the canvas on which that you place all of your creations, your mental creations. Now, if it's a sensation of feeling, if you say, well, I can't feel the lamp inside my mind, right? But if I open my eyes, the one that appears to be out there, I can touch that one so I can feel it. So that's what makes it appear to be real to me. Is that the difference?
Yes.
Okay, but they look identical, except that you feel you can feel one. All right. The question would be, again, we're adults. If you have been in the bed before and you had a dream about a woman and you had a union with her, then you had a nocturnal emission. Okay, you wake up and you're the only one in the bed. The question is, how did that happen? I mean, did you feel that?
Yeah, I feel that.
Okay, I'm fine. Okay, but that was only where? In your mind, right?
Yes.
And there are women that have the same experience. They've had an experience with their eyes open with a man, a sexual experience, and they didn't even achieve orgasm. But in their dream, they did. So which man was real? That's a very serious, that's a very legitimate and real question. Okay? Are you following me? Are you beginning to follow where I'm trying to lead you? Right? See, my point is that the Creator is inside. If I was to ask you, as stated in the Wisdom of Tahuti by the Master Teacher Nietzsche for the Atum Ray, an example given of you being a creator is that you're asked to paint a portrait of a man or woman you never saw before. And as you look up and to the left, what you usually do when you create a mode and you make this sound, that sound is the vibration, the creation sound of vibration. As you start thinking up this image in your imagination, which the first word in imagination is image, right? When you get it clear in your mind, you rush to the blank easel or to the canvas, you start trying to put it down while it's vivid in your mind where you created it. And you're so wrapped up in your work, if I call your name 2 or 3 times, you may not even hear, but I might have to tap your shoulder and you say, oh yeah, brother Amun. I say, okay. What happened with you is you're the creator of this creation, but you got so wrapped up or involved in your creation, you forgot you're the creator of it. Are you following me? Are you hearing me? If it's not making sense to you, just keep turning the question. Is the brother Henry here from Macon?
All right. How y'all doing, family? How big Steve?
Okay.
Man, we sent you the green light, brother. Oh, I felt it. I'm still feeling it, brother.
This is the brother Henry Duncan that had the accident the other night. If you can just let him kind of describe his condition for those of you that are interested. Please know if you're not interested, there are those of us that are interested. Just out of respect, stop making noise on the phone, please. Go ahead, Henry. Due to the accident that occurred,
I got first, second, and third degree burns to my face and up my arm and hand, and all I know is that I'm blessed to be here, and honored to be part of the family, and I felt y'all prayers and blessings, that y'all all sent out, and I definitely felt the green light. I still feel it. Yeah.
Well, so y'all know the power of what we can do, because I did send out a mass email and ask everybody to try to, send their mental energy towards the brother to try to heal him. Also, I wanted to say myself that, the brother's struggling right now with his children. So if anybody I'm doing my best to help him. I'd like to give you all his personal phone number if you'd like. And I appreciate you all.
478-228.
Okay, 228-6828. Okay, that's 478-22. I'm sorry, 22.
This is again. I also want to add that the brother Amun came to me on spiritual realm when I was in there, and the brother, it was all I remember is green, man, the green healing light, and when I woke up from surgery, all I felt was I felt this positive energy. I was so full of energy. It was off the chain.
Bless you. I'm gonna tell you, I was excited. I was really hurt because, I hate to see bad things happen to good people. And Henry is really a good brother. For those of you that don't know him, please get to know him. And I was emotional about it. So when I sat in my rocking chair and I turned the home on, I started doing visualization. And I left as a light being out of my body, and I was there with him. He was so close, I could hear him breathing behind me on the bed, hear him breathing. And I couldn't, in my mind, rationalize how we could heal that. So the way I figured is that I talked to him, and I told him, I said, Henry, what we're going to have to do is go back through time to 30 minutes before this happened. And that's what we did. And so that they wanted to put him out the hospital the next day. The brother's doing that. But they had life-flight him, the helicopter to the trauma unit, and then to the burn unit in Augusta. So we really are blessed to have him with us there. So, like I say, anything that anybody can do to help him and his kids, you know what the situation is. That was a very serious accident, and we really blessed to have him with us. Henry, is there anything else you want to add? And all of you, when you all sit back collectively, so you know what we could do if we get together as a unit, start focusing on freeing the master or any brother or sister that has a problem, if we all get together as a unit and start focusing on that brother or sister's problem, or if they want to bring some positive good into their life, if we start visualizing that and just understand there's no limit to what we can accomplish as a group. You see that? With one mind, one love. You follow me?
Beautiful, man.
Yeah, I'm serious. And that was an example of it.
I want to add also that everything that Brother Amun is telling you is real. It's real. It's real. I experienced it firsthand. The green light and the healing power. I still feel, the positive feel of that green light coming through. And at the trauma center, they're still trying to figure out how with all of these burns, how did I get out of there so early,
Yeah, he said they were taking a lot of blood from him. I'm sure they think it was some physical reasons. They don't know it was the Nawabian family that went there in the spiritual realm and did that, because that's something that they didn't learn in their textbooks. But time would reveal who we are. You see, like I was saying before, it's just ego for us to keep reading books and saying to each other, brother and sister, that we God. It's time that we really got serious about remembering how to do the things that gods do, right? And that's what time it is. Which leads me to, what is our next question? Right. Let me share. You know what I want to do? I want to share something with us right quick. I want to read something to you all. It's called the Smoky Mirror. 3,000 years ago, there was a human just like you and me who lived near a city surrounded by mountains. The human was studied to become a medicine man, to learn knowledge of his ancestors. But he didn't completely agree with everything he was learning. In his heart, he felt there must be something more. One day, as he slept in a cave, he dreamed his own body sleeping. He came out of the cave on the night of a new moon. The sky was clear and could see millions of stars. Then something happened inside of him that transformed his life forever. He looked at his hand, felt his body, and he heard his own voice say, I am made of light. I am made of stars. He looked at the stars again and realized that it's not the stars that create light, but rather light that creates the stars. Everything is made of light, he said, and the space between isn't empty. And he knew that everything that exists is one living being, and that light is the messenger of life, because it is alive and contains all information. He realized that although he was made of stars, he was not those stars. I am in between the stars, he thought. So he called the star the tonal, and the light between the stars, nogoal. And he knew that created the harmony and space between the two is light or intent. Without light, tonal and the nogoal could not exist. Life is the force of the absolute, the supreme, the creator, who creates everything. This is what he discovered. Everything in existence is manifestation of the one living being we call God. Everything is God. And he came to the conclusion that human perception is merely light, perceiving light. He also saw that matter is a mirror. Everything is a mirror that reflects light and creates images of that light. And the world of illusion, the dream, is just like smoke, which doesn't allow us to see what we really are. The real us is pure love, pure light, he said. This realization changed his life once he knew what he really was. He looked around at other humans and the rest of nature, and he was amazed at what he saw. He saw himself in everything, in every human, in every animal, in every tree, in the water, in the rain, in the clouds, in the earth. And he saw that light mixed with tonal and nogoal and different ways to create billions of manifestations of light. In those few moments, he comprehended from everything. He was very excited, and his heart was filled with peace. He could hardly wait to tell his people what he had discovered. But there were no words to explain it. Well, he tried to tell others, but they could not understand. They could see that he had changed, that something beautiful was radiating from his eyes to his voice. They noticed that he no longer had judgment about anything or anyone. He was no longer like anyone else. He could understand everyone very well, but no one could understand him. They believed that he was an incarnation of God, and he smiled when he heard this and said, "It is true. I am God. But you are also God. We are the same, you and I. We are images of light. We are God." But still the people didn't understand him, and he had discovered that he was a mirror in which he could see himself. Everyone is a mirror, he said. He saw himself in everyone, but no one saw him as themselves. And he realized that everyone was dreaming, but without awareness, without knowing what they really are. They couldn't see him as themselves because there was a wall of fog or smoke between the mirrors. And the wall of fog was made by interpretation of images of light, the dream of humans. Then he knew that he would soon forget all that he had learned. He wanted to remember all the visions he had had. So he decided to call himself the smoky mirror, so that he would always know that matter is a mirror, and the smoke in between is what keeps us from knowing what we are. He said, "I am the smoky mirror, because I am looking at myself in all of you, but we don't recognize each other because of the smoke in between us." That smoke is the dream, and the mirror is you, the dreamer. Okay, did we generate any questions with that? Yes.
I didn't really have any questions. I mean, just wanted to let you know, man, this class has been doing a whole lot for me. I've been making my reality, creating it the way I want it. I'm trying to, steady getting better and better at it.
Some brothers and sisters I come to frequently, at least once or twice a week. And then, so I'm a part of that experience. If I'm on a bus driving it with Harry Johnson, or if I'm walking down the beach with Susie Campbell, or whatever it is, then that's really happening. If I'm in your room and you see me, it's like me. But the thing is this, I want to say about symbolism, let's talk about this master teacher, and is that when you look at dream symbols, is a lot of times it's an indication, or your oversoul giving you insight as to some possible reality that you might be confronted with in the future. There would be no point in the warning if it wasn't possible for you to avert the situation, right? So, in other words, what you need to learn how to do is start listening to our feelings, because that's the most honest indication that a person has. It's more powerful than words, because words are not necessarily indicative of what a person is thinking, not even you. Because a lot of times we say things that we don't really mean or feel, but your feelings, they don't lie, you see. So just be careful about the way you feel around certain people in certain situations, and then remind yourself of that vision, that dream that you had, and I bet you'll be able to avert any difficulty in the future as a result.
Right. Because, you know...
Take it as a timely warning.
I had to realize, I was like, hold on, I had to realize that I was like something that I had created, that I was in control, so I had to put myself down, take control of the situation, because it was getting out of control. That's right. You see, but you understand it now. You understand it now where it's really coming from. It's really coming from inside your own mind. And that's, as the master said, the problem at the root of the difficulty is the difficulty at the root of the problem. Is far too frequently we look for outside solutions to problems that are being generated from the inside, and that's tantamount to a person trying to comb the lint out their hair, and they comb in the mirror and complaining because they're not getting the job done. Right. You have to go to the source of it. Don't break the red light on the dashboard. You have to go to the cause of it, and it's coming from your mind. That's where everything is being generated. You create your own environment inside your own mind. Everything is coming from you. You're right about that. Yeah, you hit in the right direction. You're going to be all right. Next question. Thank you, Bless. Yeah. Hello, brother.
Yes, how are you?
I was wondering, I already know that, really like no God or not. But who created us black people? Who created the human race?
Okay, when you start talking about on the level within creation, within the matrix itself, that would be your creator gods would be described as like Anunnaki, who did an Adama project here, right? And to give you some history about it, that these beings, the extraterrestrial beings that came from another planetary system that was called Risk, that was from the 19th galaxy, Ilion, and that they had some trouble with their atmosphere when it was ozone layer was breached, and the ultraviolet rays from the sun came down and made it unbearable to live there. So what they did is that they relocated to several star systems, Sirius, and one of them was here in this solar system, to the planet Mars. And evidence of that creation, or that civilization rather, is in the plains of Sidonia on Mars, for example, where Greg Molnar passed over with the Viking 5 in 1976, and he took photos of five-sided pyramids of the face on Mars, right? And that's set up on a 19.5 grid. And then also, at 450,000 years ago, they also came here to the planet Earth and set up civilizations, one of which in 7 cities, and one of which was in the Giza Plateau, and the 3 main pyramids there, like the one on the plains of Sidonia on Mars, aligned up with the 3 stars in the belt of Orion, and also on 19.5 degrees, right? Now, these beings, what they did is they were here to mine for gold, as they call it, new, because they wanted to take it back and powder it up and just sprinkle it in the atmosphere so it would be suspended to the property of gold and ensure that reflects sunlight. So they would use it as sort of a bandage on the hole in the atmosphere to stop the penetrating, dangerous ultraviolet rays so that they could all return to their homes safely, right? And it took a lot of gold to do that. But they were digging for it, and they had elder beings, or Gigi, that were revolving around the planet, and they wanted a certain tally or amount to be produced and dug and mined. But these beings are sophisticated and highly evolved, and they resented the workload, and eventually they dropped the tools and they went on a strike, in short. And so what they did, because that they had to continue with the amount that was being mined, as one of the 4 scientists, whose name was Inky, he told them the solution was that there was a being here that they could use as a genetic hanger. It was the Homo erectus, the Australopithecus, etc., or the great apes, and that they opted to take the egg of the ape woman, when they start talking about in the Darwin theory of evolution that we evolved from apes, there's some truth in that, but not really, because if time is what made apes evolve into people, then how come the rest of the monkeys ain't people yet? So they captured a certain number. It was a 600-year project, took 100 to gather, and 400 years for the genetic engineering, and 100 years to educate them. 3 laboratories on Mars, on the dark side of the moon, and also was set up on the Giza Plateau. And they put the egg of the ape woman into the womb of Mother Ninti, and the Sharu and Tima of Gastu, another Anunnaki. In other words, through trial and error, they came up with the Lulu Amalu, the primitive worker that worked in Monodapa, modern-day Rhodesia, and Zimbabwe, and the mining was set up there to produce the gold that they needed. Now, evidence of that is that if you were to go to a place like the Grand Canyon, for example, they know that when you, I'm going to have to say this again, if archaeologists propel down there on long ropes to the bottom of the canyon, they're dropping down through time when they pass all the layers of the strata of Earth. Just like the rings on trees, and when they get to the bottom, you got the crustaceans or the central cell, amoeba, etc. And as they start coming back up, being pulled back up, they're coming back up through time. They can see where fish came out of the water and they evolved into 4-legged beings and etc. But what's really interesting is when they get almost to the surface, where you have the primates or the great apes or the Homo erectus, that they all of a sudden, and it takes millions and millions of years for a species to evolve from one thing into another, even though it's superficial surface modification because the same anatomic structure is there. But it takes millions and millions of years to create that kind of a change for a whale to develop legs and come out on the water. So, but all of a sudden, these apes, they noticed, in a 600-year period, they went from swinging on trees to building pyramids and performing intricate brain surgery with light amplified stimulation, emission, radiation, lasers, etc. And that was amazing. And what Darwin named that is, or described that is, when he first discovered it, as he called it, the missing link, because it was a missing link to him because he couldn't figure out why everything else took millions and millions and millions of years to have any noticeable change in it as far as evolution is concerned. But all of a sudden, these monkeys in a 600-year period jumped up to performing brain surgery, and the rest of the monkeys were still monkeys, right? So that was his indication. Even though he didn't put it in his book, he knew that there was they were help from an extraterrestrial civilization that came in and put their DNA inside of there. Or the sons of God came down and saw the daughters the minute they went into them, they gave birth to men of renown. They were giants of the earth in those days. Except there wasn't always a sexual union when they go into people. A lot of times they do it through in vitro fertilization and gene splicing and that type of thing. But that's what it was. The ones that created the human race were extraterrestrial race of beings. Okay. All right. Anybody else? I wanted to walk through actual fact 17 some tonight too. So for those of you that have the book, please go get it.
So we are actually extraterrestrial.
Well, let me say this. When you start talking about another word for that, commonly known as spacemen, right? And so that when you look at it, the way we've been conditioned to think that that's a joke when you start talking about black people from outer space. But when you think about a person from Venus or from Mars, you think of that as a spaceman or extraterrestrials, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But if you look at the way that the solar system is arranged, you got Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So Earth is between Venus and Mars. So if on either side of Earth, Mars and Venus lies, and you think anybody from there is an extraterrestrial, and we lie in the middle of that, what are we? If they spacemen, what are we? Another way, when NASA sends crafts to the moon, for example, don't they travel in a spaceship? And what kind of suits? That's a space suit. And when they're in space, that's a spaceman, right? And when they land on the moon, that's an alien, huh? But you see, it's just a concept. Space is something that's overrated. If you got a bus with 50 seats, you got 200 students, you don't have enough space. All it is room to put things, right? Spaceman, I hear you. Ooh. Next question.
Bahubat?
Yes, Bahubat.
Yes, I was wondering if you know anything about the Indigo children.
About the Indigo children, yes. Those are, for people that have never heard that term before, please do a computer search because it's a very interesting subject that the sister's asking about, right? And Indigo children are those children that are born in this era, close to the end of time, that are specially engineered and spiritually advanced or evolved beings that are here to set the pulse or set the rate to bring humans to prepare to launch us into a new era, to raise up the vibrations. These children are special children that have special capabilities and are especially talented and gifted children. And a lot of you sisters are noticing that your babies are sometimes they're so aware and so intelligent and so bright that you find it hard to describe to people without sounding like a fool. They say, yeah, I know that's your baby, you're going to talk like that. But you really are trying to tell them this child is really amazing. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, man, my nephew's daughter, was here for Thanksgiving. She's only 1 year old, and you can actually hold a conversation with her.
That's what I'm trying to say, see?
I mean, she'd explain to you that she's about to be 2 on her, when her birthday is and everything. So.
Right, and that's really amazing. But at some level of our consciousness, we're all the same age, right? It's just that we've been trapped in this illusion, but again, it's like taking a 200-watt light bulb and placing it in a lamp in the center of a floor in a dark room, and then if somebody covers it with a black shade, it's dark in the room again, so you hide your light on a bushel basket, a light that shines in the darkness, etc. But if we all stand around and poke a little hole in the lampshade, wherever the light streams out, that's a little god, there a little god, or a little goddess over here, but the light bulb is the source. It merely shares and we become. But you create the illusion of here and there, you and me, and now and then. Because if I poke my hole first, my zero time ever starts first, well, I'm perceived to be older than you. Or she's over there and he's over here. But if you take the lampshade off, the reality is everything is here and now, as the brother and I were discussing at first about you being the center of existence, all things equal distance from you, and where is God? He's the center. That's the reality. The poked holes and lampshades, that's the illusion or the dream, right? Right. All right. Emotional energy. 1. Electrons and other subatomic particles are not solid. They are clusters of energy in motion. Could somebody describe that for me or for us? When you spin electrons, when you have an atom that's a subatomic particle with electrons, protons, and neutrons, and what they are, it's just trace energy, because we know that protons are positive electric charges, neutrons are neutral electric charge, and electrons are negative electric charge, right? And that's what makes up the atom. The question is energy matter, yes or no?
Yes, it's a degree of... Yes.
No, it's not. No, it's different. Matter and energy are also, but they are interchangeable. And the example I give is if you take a cigarette, that's solid matter, right? But when you light it, the light and the heat are 2 forms of energy. So you convert the energy into matter, but energy and matter are not the same thing, okay?
Okay.
All right. So what atoms are made of, and you can do computer searches, it's about 90% just empty space and just trace energy that comes in the form of electrons, protons, and neutrons, and subatomic particles, okay? So atoms are basically empty. So what he says, when the master teacher says there's no solid matter, that's what he's alluding to, is that everything that you consider solid or real or material in a material realm is made of atoms. And if atoms are made out of 90% emptiness and just trace energy, and that's not matter, if everything else you think is made out of matter, how can it be matter or solid matter if everything with the atoms that they're made of are not solid?
Right.
Right. So there is no such thing as matter. So we go back to the same thing with the first brother that saw the lamp inside of his mind that wondered why he could touch the one outside, right? It creates the illusion. In other words, if you reach out in front of you and you grab a handful of what? You say, there's nothing in my hand, Ahmed. Well, that's nothing if you're doing 90 miles an hour on your car down the freeway and throw the wide flat palm of your hand out the window, that nothing will knock your hand back, right?
Right.
So it depends on what speed is vibrating at. Okay. The charge of electricity, which explains certain attractions and repulsions relative to charge and magnetic fields, right? Every particle within an atom or atom moves in an orbit. Even the proton in the atom's nucleus travels a very tight orbit, which determines its apparent diameter. In other words, iron has 26 heavy particles in it because it's a more dense particle. But so it would give the appearance of a larger solar system, because as above, so below. When you see the solar system above you that have the planets ranging around it, with the quark at the center, in this case, which would be the sun, and the atom beneath you, which you have the quark at the center, the father of energy, and you have 2 electrons in the first case shell, 8 electrons in the second case shell, 6 electrons in the sixth, makes it a microcosm or miniature solar system, and you in the center, also being a sun, but phonetically being spelled S-O-N instead of S-U-N, and an atom, but they spell you A-D-A-M instead of A-T-O-M, and you have a solar plexus like the solar system, and your system revolves around it because you have a circulatory system, and your sun also gets off light and heat, making you maintain a constant body temperature of 98.6, so when you exercise, you burn calories, right? In addition to orbiting, there's another important motion of all subatomic particles called nutation, or nutate. No, who remembers what that, can describe that for me? Give me an example of nutation. That's exactly right. If a kid spins a spinning top, or a little girl, it spins a jack in the floor, and it's going around, it appears to be in a perfect circle, but it's not. As it slows down, it will have a wobble before it stops. That's nutation, right? The wobbles, you must understand nutational motion, because it's the very key to the secrets of this universe you are in right now. Every subatomic particle spins about its own internal axis, and nutation refers to a wobble of the axis of rotation. Each particle in the physical universe experiences a nutation period of precisely the exact same rate. So you know that there's no incongruity in that. In other words, there's a universal mind behind the project. So in fact, each subatomic particle of matter and each quantum particle of electromagnetic energy spins on its own axis, just as this planet, past noon, Earth, turns on its poles. And that all these axes wobble at one constant rate, regardless of the energy or mass called its sum, as in sum of a thing, something, sum of its weight, size of its particle. It's very important that you distinguish between spinning and orbiting. Although all particles spin, who can make the distinction between spinning and orbiting for me real quick?
Spinning is, orbiting is a unit of mass going around a large unit of mass. And spinning would be referring to a particular unit of mass spin on an axis.
On its pole, yeah, exactly. Very good. Very good. These particles, which also travel in close orbits, comprise matter, whereas energy particles travel in a straight line. Energy can be changed into matter. We gave the example, and vice versa, like the cigarette, you know, the light and heat, right? Or vice versa, right? However, the nutational rate of these particles never varies. And that would be the same as taking water at room temperature and then slowing down the vibrations, making it ice or apparent solid, then putting it in a pot and converting the liquid into a steam or gas until it's eventually ether again and you don't have water, steam, or ice. Turning off the fire in the kitchen, cooling condensate, taking the water and droplets off the ceiling in the glass, putting it back in the freezer and letting it slow down in vibration and appear to be a solid again, like angels ascending and descending up and down Jacob's ladder, right? Nor is there any physical power in the universe which can alter the rotational rate one bit, right? No Laodiceans, I'm going to move through this kind of quick so I can get to where we left off before. Gravity and magnetism, which are in fact different manifestations of the same force, are inherent in the axial spin of etheric particles. According to the Hope and Mifflin Dictionary, gravity is defined as the natural force of attraction exerted by a celestial body, such as Earth, upon objects at or near its surface, tending to draw them towards the center of the body of the natural force of attraction between any two massive bodies, which is directly proportional to the product of their mass and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them, whereas magnetism is the force exerted by a magnetic field, right? So basically what they're saying about gravity directly proportional to mass is that if you take a straight flat sheet and then you hold it tight on all four corners, a man on each corner, and then you take a bowling ball and start rolling it around the center, everywhere that bowling ball, which is has mass, rolls, it creates, and then you throw a lot of scattered BBs on the bed. Everywhere that bowling ball rolls, those BBs start falling towards that ball. Am I right?
Right.
That would be an example that would be directly proportional to the mass of the object that's rolling on the sheet, okay? Now, magnetism is a quite different matter, okay? See, matter is essentially a concept of a human being's sense perceptors, which themselves are the same matter, right? Right. Understand that? In other words, he's saying that if there's no such thing as matter, and then you kick your toe on a rock and it hurts, if the rock's not right there, why do you feel it? Because you're vibrating at the same frequency as the rock, right? In other words, on Malika, angelic beings are just as solid as you are here, but to you, they're transparent. Okay?
But I'm not.
Yes.
Are we saying that we're able to vibrate on the same
as angelic beings? Let me say this. You see, wherever you are right now, you're vibrating on, we'll just say 7 for the sake of simplicity. You're vibrating on all of them all at once. Because if I asked you, are you a physical or spiritual or mental being, for example, what would be your answer? Okay. So whatever chair you're sitting in, there's a mental being in that chair, a physical being and a spiritual being, but it depends on which part of your being that you focus or put your concentration on as this is me. If you're in the kitchen and your wife asks you, baby, who are you in there talking to? And you laugh and say, baby, you caught me. I'm in here talking to myself. Who is you, the myself or the I?
The I.
Okay, you know that. Then you're not a physical being. Even though you're in a physical body, you would be like a Ilamutajazza, the divine incarnated in flesh.
Right.
So the average person, we can sing together, brother. See, the average person, you got to remember, it's other people I'm talking to too, right? I know that you're advanced in it. Okay, the average person would think of themselves as the myself, that this is me, and the I is some shady or vague ethereal peripheral aspect of their being that's really out of focus. That's not the real them. But the reverse is quite true. You're right. The I is you. Not just the ninth letter of the alphabet, but also EYE, the all seeing at the top of the pyramid with the nasal cavity when you face the mirror. Meaning that when you look in the mirror and I ask you, who do you see? And you say, that's me, I see. If I ask you to close your eyes, can you still see yourself if you want to? Might take you a second, but you can do it. The one I'm talking to in the bottle is the one that's looking at you when your eyes are closed, right? That's the real you. That's the all, or about, which is the what-seeing eye. The all-seeing eye. That's the eye of all, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yet atoms are only clusters of energy. Okay. Now see, this is the thing. This world and this is an important point he's making right here. He's letting you know that this is a matrix or a holodeck, like on Star Trek, or like Avatar or the Matrix, right? This world and everything in it is composed of atoms. You remember how? I'll show you how far advanced he is. He came out in the 60s with this song called "It's Only a Dream." For those of you that remember, where everybody had this little shiny thing on their forehead, that was indicative of the third eye. But he was saying that this is only a dream. This world and everything in it is composed of atoms. Yet atoms are only clusters of energy, whose seeming solidity and integrity are due to the circular motions of their components. Now, what he means by that, if a little girl takes a bike, I'm going to use the same example, and she turns it upside down, you can see through the wheels, you can stick your fingers all through the wheels, because it's transparent, it's empty. But when she starts pedaling the bike upside down, she reaches a certain speed, there's no place that you can stick a stick through there without hitting a wall, because the spokes at that vibrational speed give the impression or creates the illusion of a solid wall. Are you following me? The atom is almost entirely empty space, consisting like the spokes, like entirely empty space. The electrons and the protons, they revolve around it so quick they give the illusion of solidity. An atom is almost entirely empty space, consisting of a central blob of whirling energy sheathed by the orbits of electrons. He's talking about the quark in the center, right? The orbiting electrons describe a more or less spherical shell of energy. However, don't see in your mind's eye that this shell makes the atom a hollow ball of some concreteness. The emptiness in which the subatomic particles exist can be seen by the supposition that if the nucleus of an atom were enlarged to the size of Ray, sun, you see, the shell described by its electrons would be 24 times greater than the diameter of its solar system. In other words, if you think that this is an illusionary world that you live in, when you go to the subatomic particle level of existence, that when you take an atom, for example, that's a replica of a solar system and a few atoms, that the space in between the electron and the quark in the center is 24 times greater than that between the sun and the planets, okay? So it's a lot emptier than this reality even, right? But everything in this reality that you call solid is made of those atoms that is nothing basically but empty space, right? Think like this, number 20. A pound of iron, which seems quite solid and ponderable to a human being, is in fact really no more than an aggregation of swirls of energy, separated by comparatively vast reaches of emptiness, right? So iron appears to be solid and heavy, but it's not, you see? Because one thing about it, like the human body, if it was solid, you couldn't see through it, but what is an X-ray, right? Also, the physical body of mortals, this applies to as well. The cells which comprise the physical body's tissues, nerves, and blood are these same intangible swirls. You see, in the watches, electromagnetic energy, such as radio, heat, light, and X-rays, can be envisioned as traversing the ether in the form of bullets or clusters called quantum particles. And now in the watches, this is ether. The entire universe is permeated with the basic energy, which is of a rarefied concentration compared to the energy bundles which comprise atoms and quantum particles. You will have a hard time trying to conceive of basic energy with the same overstanding associated with energy, because the basic type had no motion and cannot impart force. We're talking about muat, or mother dark matter, or baut, all right? It is quiescent, passive, and imperceptible. It is the muat, mother of energy and matter. It is that from which all things are created. And she is revealed to you by evidence existing in the wave phenomenon of the propagation of Naor light, and that in moves the vibrations of the three colors, blue, yellow, red, which birth all others. By this we know she is Papau, the existence. Now the master teacher, when we start talking about the universe, for example, you know that when you close your eyes, that vast blackness that you see in there is the canvas on which that you place all of your creations. And even the stars are inside your mind. In fact, you've heard niggas say, man, he hit me so hard I saw stars. Yeah, you did. All right. This basic energy or ether imposes a limit on the speed of Noor light. Well, I'm going to show you the power of your mind. You know there's a dark inside the human body. There's no light inside your brain or in your head, right? But you can still see the sun in there at 12 o'clock at night. And it's all within dark matter. So space is not empty. In other words, it's permeated by this dark matter, right? She keeps control over all. In other words, what he's saying is that his light travels 186,272 miles per second and 8 minutes. The sun is 93.8 million miles away from the Earth. It takes light 8.5 minutes to reach the Earth from the sun. So that even if you amped up, generated a much stronger force behind the light, it still couldn't break that barrier because there's something holding it back and making it maintain that speed. And that's the evidence that the dark matter is there. Okay.
Is this the triple darkness?
You could describe it as triple darkness as well too. But what it is, it's not so much visual, is that the substance of Muat is that it's a substance that's there that impedes the forward motion of particles such as photons or light, right? In the same way that the way you walk up on the ground is different than the way you would walk in water. So you would be impeded, your forward mobility would be impeded or slowed down or kept under control by the density of the water, right? So that light, for example, energy that travels through what you call empty space is being hindered like that. So that's how they know there's a substance. If space were truly empty or nothingness, no thing exists, then radiated energy would be able to travel at any rate in an infinite range of speeds instead of having an upper limit, which has been named the speed of light, 186,272 miles per second. All electromagnetic radiations travel at exactly the same maximum speed through space, whether it be low energy radiation or high energy radiation. Now the waters are analogous to the way air is the carrier of sound vibration. The basic energy permeating of space is it is a fluid carrier of quantum particles. And what do they say of ether, substance of fluid which fills all space? A colorless, volatile liquid used as an anesthetic, ethereal light, airy, heavenly, and ethereality. No, emotion and ethic. Ethical, relating to or treating of mortals ethically, ethics, science of mortal, moral principles, rules of conduct, ethnic of a race, ethnography, description of races of mortals, ethnos, distinctive character, genius, ethical makeup, and from whom the mother to the child, never from the father. Okay, it's Mother Nature, Papa'u. She produces all the energy to keep the cell alive, mother of all living. Now, does anybody have any questions so far about what we went over? I hope we generated some. I know I'm moving kind of fast, but for those of you that have been in with me, am I moving too fast? Am I reading too fast?
No, I'm fine here. But I guess what's giving me a greater understanding is the example that you give, brother. That's given back for us.
Okay, I'm doing my best. I love you, right? That's how Jesus speaks, right? In parables, right? Okay. Well, that's what you got to do. You got to I try to prove things to people through their own experience, and that's the best way that I know to teach, right? Okay.
That's right.
Women, female is God, goddess, and she is from where man, male, comes and predates man. Exactly. This is the best kept secret that is best to be made known now, right? Everybody knows female is the goddess, and from where man, male, comes from. You know about the bubble, urethra gland, etc., right? We live in her womb in liquid until we're reborn into air. You notice you said reborn. That means that you're a spiritual entity that travels from life to life and from situation to situation, right? For example, the woman supposedly died and she's cold now, she's gone, indicating that she left and went somewhere away from the body, right? Bolts are ether and quantum particles. Particles of radiated energy must buck the speed barrier inherent in basic energy. As particles comprising electromagnetic radiation proceed through space, a chattering effect with wave-like pulses results. The more energy a particle has, the greater is the frequency of its chatter, or that which makes a sound, which makes light, which makes things sum up to something. So he keeps using words like sum up and something. Is everybody clear about that? Okay.
That's not meant.
Okay, well, if you take let me say, if you take the periodic chart, you know, then you have the 99 elements before Einstein and things like heavy elements like 114. Well, to keep everybody simple, make it simplified, you have 99 physical elements of creatures. Start with the lightest element, would be hydrogen 1, which is an incomplete atom that only has one electron in the first case shell instead of two, like helium next to it, to make it a complete atom. Okay, so in other words, what they're saying is there's no thing that's lighter than hydrogen, which is pretty light, because if you fill a balloon with hydrogen, it won't even, it's lighter than air, it floats on air. Am I right?
Right. So,
one of the characteristics of matter is that it has to have mass or weight. So if it's lighter than air, if you can't, how much would it weigh if you put it on a scale? It wouldn't. Okay, but they still saying that helium and hydrogen is matter. So they really are straining at the bits to classify that as matter, right? But they're definitely saying that anything lighter than that anything under that does not exist, right? So we're going to call something, anything from hydrogen 1 moving forward, right? All no thing is something without its atomic number. In other words, when you go into charms, biaps, and neutrini and other subatomic particles that are smaller than atoms, even an incomplete atom like hydrogen, right? Then they found out those particles do exist. But they're not in the realm of what you call things, so they wouldn't be in the physical realm, they would be in the spiritual realm. Are you following? So we know that the spirit does exist indeed, but it can't be calculated in the physical realm. Again, if hydrogen and helium float, you can't perceive it, see it, or weigh it, right? Right?
Right.
So all something again is the sum of things, and he's spelling SUM-THING because he's counting the electrons and the K shells around the central particle in order to give it substance, like iron with the number 26, saying that it's got 26 particles in it, right? So by the density of the particle is what he's calling the sum of things. Now, the hydrogen 1 means it only has 1 electron, so what's the number below 1? Okay, and it has, okay, so they're saying that doesn't exist, except that they're there. There are particles under hydrogen 1, so all that is something without its atomic number, right? And they call it etheric, or the spiritual realm. So is that clear to everybody what he means by something and nothing?
I got a question.
I'll do my best. Now, see, what you're doing is you're looking back to see if they're looking back, see if you look back, see if they're looking, right? Yes, indeed. Okay, let me see. As particles comprise electromagnetic radiation proceed through space, a chattering effect with wave-like pulses results. The more energy a particle has, the greater is the frequency of its chatter, or that which makes a sound, which makes light, which makes things sum up to something like a Geiger counter, that type of chatter. Where there is water, liquid, moisture, or from atom, we get technut, water, and from her, shoe, air. From them you get nut, sky, and from her, geb, earth, and of them, mortals, Aset, Lilith, Asar, Abel, Nephat, Eve, Etzatuk, Cain, and Har, Seth. Life from the living waters, because there comes from Nunet, and Nun, and Hehet, and He, and Kekhet, and Kek, and Nuaf, Nau, and Amunet, and Amun of the waters called Kaminu, hog-the-wad, snake-headed females and frog-headed males of the deep. So now, Laodiceans, that you have a clear understanding of the inanimate to animate physical world, let us talk about the phenomenon of living things now in relatively simple terms. Now, is everybody clear about the physical world, or what the appearance of the physical world, and in other words, the substantial and absolute reality? Do you know the difference? In other words, the thing that can never be breached to always separate the two is to know that everything created or made has a beginning and a what? And the Creator has neither beginning or end. That's how you make the separation. Let us talk about the phenomenon of living things now in relatively simple terms. As you know, there are 7 abodes of existence spoken about. He said spoken about. And 2 which they dare not speak about, making it 9 abodes in all. So he's going to talk to us about at least 9. When he speaks about 9, he's saying 2 planes of existence that are over your head. When you go to the 7th plane, you go to the laryngeal seat, the pineal gland, and which is 6th, and the 7th is the crown molar, that there are 2 more outside of your body. You know, for example, when you took your arm lesson, he spoke about the 3 lights revolving around the top of your head, and you use your visualization to make it turn into 1 and make it descend. That was one of your chakras that are outside your body. Go ahead, what's the question? And he said that there's nothing outside you that's not inside you. So when you look at that and realize that everything is coming from the same source, if you look at the planet with the sun in the center, like the center of your solar plexus in the solar system, where you have 9 planets, right? And so we're talking about 9 planes. I just want you to know that when you're talking about the word planet, it's separated into 2 words. That's plan-et. Or take the T off and you have the word plane, 9 planes, okay? I hope everybody heard that right quick. I tried to squeeze the elephant in the symbol.
I had a question.
Okay, all right. We will begin with this known universe, the material plane of things and the physical plane of being living. Both are, in fact, one abode, just vibrating on higher and lower rates. In other words, I want you to understand something very important. Everything is made out of the same substance, vibrating at different frequencies, like water, ice, steam, and ether, right? Vibrating at different frequencies. They appear to be gas, liquid, or solid, or ethereal, right? Okay. Now the physical abode, the lowest, not in direction, in state of existence, being the lowest of the seven, and it consists of sub-abodes, right? Each subdivided into sub-abodes on and one, and begins at atoms of matter and quantum energy ordered by time. What he means is that there's 7 abodes, there's 7 planes of existence that he's making reference to, and that each one of the planes is divided by 7 to the 7th power of 7 inside of it. So in essence, if you had somebody at the bottom end or the subplane of the 4th plane, they would be basically in the same place as somebody at the upper end of the 3rd plane. They would be vibrating on basically the same frequency, okay? Is that clear to everybody? Okay, right? We will begin with this known universe, the material plane of things and the physical plane of being living. And it's interesting about this word that the master teacher brought out, that when you analyze universe, we all know that there's only one, right? Only one creator, and he don't have any mother, father, brothers, cousins, or daughters, or kids. So if there's nobody here but him, who must you be, right? You are the all. You are Baut, right? So when you look at the word universe, when you created the illusion of existence, the word un in Spanish or French means one, and verse means against, like Frazier versus Ali. So universe means against oneness. Okay, both are in fact one abode, just vibrating on higher and lower rates. We call them pa-per-at, abodes, planes, realms. Now the physical abodes, the lowest, not in direction, and state of existence, being the lowest of the 7 heavens, and it consists of sub-abodes. Each subdivide into sub-abodes on, and begins at atoms of matter and quantum energy ordered by time. The physical abode is referred to as the lowest abode because the nutational rate of its constituting atoms and quanta has the slowest frequency of the 7 abodes. Okay, this planet, Pat, Noon, and Nutiamat stars in our light, you see, are all of this lowest nutational rate. Well, they're all of the physical abode. Now, I hope we generated some questions with that. Anybody have any questions about what we went over so far? Remember, it's easy to tell me to slow down. I don't mind doing it. The fact, Actually, Ray told me one time that I moved too fast. He said he had a habit of doing it sometimes, too.
Okay, could you go back and explain about number 52? Where you said the physical abode is referred to as the lowest abode?
As the lowest abode, it means the lowest in vibratory state, and lowest and slowest. Let's say this. Again, let me do the same substance like water. At room temperature, it's a liquid. But if you take that water and put it in a freezer, in a cup, then it's going to slow down like winter in a molasses in the wintertime. It's going to slow the vibrations down real slow, right? And then it's going to give the impression of a solid that you call ice, right? So what it is that the material plane is the lowest, the slowest vibrational frequency that it is. That gives it the illusion of being dense. But you know that if you take the same water or that ice and put it in a pot on a high fire and you speed up the vibrations, because when water is boiling, you see how it's vibrating, how it's churning, moving fast? It's vibrating fast. See how it rolls in the pot? It's vibrating faster. And with that faster frequency, it converts the liquid into a gas that you call steam. And if you leave it on long enough, the steam will be converted into ether. Whether you say there's no water, steam, or ice in the kitchen, it's nothing in the pot, which is something. All nothing is, in other words, is you can't get nothing from something, so all it is energy in transit, right? So to make the ether come back to solid again, you just turn the fire off and let the kitchen cool. And then the water will condensate, and you can collect it again in the glass and put it in the freezer and turn it back into solid ice again, okay? That's how angels are sitting up and down Jacob's ladder or the spinal column, right? You know that's where he saw the angels was in it. Joseph, right? Because he was dreaming. While he was dreaming, his eyes were closed, so he wasn't seeing them outside like people imagine, right?
Right.
I'm showing you everything is inside you in your mind, and Jacob's ladder is actually a spinal column, okay?
That's right.
Right. It's all in your mind.
That's right.
Good question. Did I answer it, though?
That's right.
All right, next question.
Okay, you're saying that there's no out there and everything is pretty much inside us.
Right.
And if that in that case, the person that's sitting next to me would be the same as me.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so if we're the author, and it's two people sitting here, and we're the author of the reality.
Well, flip the W, the we into an M, and it'll be, in other words, there's no us without you. Everything. Let me say this. That's the problem, is that you're thinking of yourself as we. You're thinking of yourself as him and me, you see? And that's the problem. You're identifying with the myself, and I am talking to myself, and not the I, or the single I. You have to make your I single or whole again in order to re-enter the kingdom of heaven. Remember that, right? Even in the Bible, there's a lot of powerful truth in that. So what I'm saying is that there's nobody here but you. But at some level of your consciousness, you are Ba'ut, you are all, you are consciousness, you are mental reservoir, you are the creator, right? But what it is you're identifying more with a character in your story that you created as this is me, as opposed to the creator of it, not the author. Are you following me? In other words, let me say this. You're looking right now with two physical eyes around the room you're in, but your physical vision is restricted to the parameters of the room, to the floors, walls, and ceiling. You can't see past them, right?
Right.
Okay. But if you close those eyes and access your higher self, or the inner being, and use your all-seeing eye, the question is can you see the front of your house from inside of it?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see through the walls, and you can see in the past, and it's not just memory, because you've had dreams and visions, and then a week later something played out, and you told the person next to you, I saw this in my dream a week ago, so you can't remember the future, correct?
Right.
So that there's somebody in you, in the temple, on the side of your head, that can see through walls and back and forth through time, and can see everything that you focus on, including your childhood friends or people you never met before. In other words, it's all in there. You can see the sun at 12 o'clock at night. You can see anything in there. That's the all-seeing eye. That aspect of your being, that's the creator. That's the author of the story. But the problem is that you're asking me from a perspective of the person sitting on the couch, but you want me to answer you like you're are you following me? You get the two entities confused. The two aspects, which is the same one, but it's different levels of your consciousness, right?
Okay.
Let me say, okay, I know that confused you. What I'm saying is this. If I ask you to write a story, you clear? And you say, okay, I'm finished with the story, brother Amun. It's Hansel and Gretel, right? And then I got men and women and children in there, right? One is sleepy, one is happy, one is sad, one is drunk, right? And I ask you when you finish, where did each one of the characters in your story get their personality, their thoughts, and their characteristics and their spirit from? Where did they get it from?
From me.
You wrote the story. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's analyze it very closely now. Think about this. In reality, do we have 22 different people, men, women, and children? Or do we have 22 different expressions of one mind? Because in reality, they're all you. Wait a minute, but she does. I love you, brother, but she got to understand it too.
I do. I really do.
So every man, woman, and children in the story you wrote, they're all you. You really should. They wouldn't exist. You created them, right?
Right.
But the thing is that you can get involved with a character in your book, and you can think like, I'm Susie I identify myself in this play as I'm more like the character Susie in my story, and you can identify yourself as Susie or Wilma or somebody like that, right? So what I'm saying is that, what is your name now? Latia. I have a daughter named Latia. That's close. Okay. What it is you're identifying with the character in the story you wrote called Latia. Are you following me? As this is me. And then so that you figure the character Amun or the character Joe or Susie, that's not you. You're not identifying with them, but you got to come up to raise your conscious. Come on up here. Conscious level back up to the reality that we're all you. There's only one here. Let me put it like this. The creator, the absolute creator. Does the creator have a mother and a father?
No.
You don't. That means that he doesn't have any children or brothers and sisters, no buds. In fact, before he created anything, there was nothing here except the creator, right?
Right.
If there's nobody here or nothing here except the creator, then who must you be?
The creator.
And are you alone?
Well, I'm assuming that.
You have to be alone. You just told me that you were. So in other words, everybody that you say of men, women, and children are just characters you created inside your mind.
Okay, so why? Because the reason that I don't have as much control over everyone. Well,
let me explain why. Let me explain why you don't have control. That's what God has control. It's because you're identifying with the characters. This is me. And remember, when you write a story, does the character in your story have any control of what happens on the next page? Yes or no?
Not the character.
No, but only the author does, right?
Correct.
So as long as you're identifying with the character in your story, you won't have any control of what happens tomorrow or today. Because control belongs to the Creator, so you have to raise up in consciousness and reconnect with the oneness, with the source. And that's why we are gathered here today. That's what time it is. It's time to wake up like that. It's time to wake up.
I appreciate it.
We have to remember. I love you. We're trying to get you to remember who you are. If you take, in other words, you separate yourself, your feet over your hands over there, dismember your body, right, yourself. We're trying to get you to put it off, remember yourself back into the whole again. Gather all your characters up and remember who and what you really are, right? You are the supreme being, right? Let me say this. Hold up. The master just wrote a book. The master teacher just wrote a book, and it's titled "Who You Are, Not What You Accept." Actual facts, right? First page, number 3. You are the ever-living supreme being, not plural, being, the first and will be the last. The very origin of the multiverses into a universe from 9 ether to 1 ether, the combination of all existing chemicals and gases. The multiversal mental to the universal mind. The supreme being, the Gor, Papa, for all is you. You about all living and existing things. The sum of all life is of you, and you are who you are. Are you following me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have a feeling that that's not quite selling your mind, so figure out some, keep turning in your mind, and then Thursday have different ways to approach it till we can get it absolutely crystal clear, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
I love you.
You've come a long way, brother.
Oh, well, we got a long way to go.
A long way. You can take me right with you.
I love you, and I'm glad you're there. Let's do this thing. Okay, anybody that don't...
Something happened the other day.
Yes.
Like it wasn't no doubt in my mind. I knew exactly what we needed to do.
Yeah, I know we did that. That's probably... Ain't that loving you? Ain't that loving you? And anybody that is not receiving my emails should call me and give me your email, because you're going to be missing out on a whole lot. That's 478-454-4004, right?
But last week you were speaking about the lucid dreams, the out of body experience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like can you explain the difference between out of body experience, lucid dreaming, and like a meditation to get to the spiritual realm?
Well, if I ask you right now to close your eyes and see your body laying on the bed, can you do it?
Yeah.
Okay, then you can see your body laying on the bed because you have a separation of consciousness, not a physical separation of your spirit and your body, right? Remember, everything is in the same place at the same time, vibrating at different frequencies, and there is no out there. Everything's happening in your mind. Everything is here and now. You follow me? So there's, in the absolute reality of it, there's no difference between a lucid dream and an out-of-body experience, even though technically they'll try to describe it in books. But I'm telling you that it's no difference, right? In other words, you leave your body, in a sense, every night. You have an out-of-body experience. It's taught by the master teacher, pretty accurate rate. But in order to achieve that state of raising to another spiritual vibration while you're consciously woke, you'd have to meditate in order to still the mind in order to do that, to achieve that. Remember, everything is made of the same substance, vibrating at the same frequency, and it's all the same. Everything is here and now in the same place. You're the center of existence. All things are equal distance from you. And for that statement to be true, everything would have to be in the same place at the same time, including your mind, body, and spirit. So if you're sitting in a chair right now, if I ask you what's sitting in that chair, is that your spiritual aspect, your physical aspect, or your mental aspect? You're going to say, all of them me, right? And they're all in the same place, aren't they? But now, when you consider yourself a physical being, as if you burn your finger, then you're not focusing on yourself as a spiritual entity, are you? Right. But as I talk to you right now, and you hear the sound of my voice, and you're really concentrating on what it is that I'm imparting to you, you're not cognizant of the fact that you have feet, so they don't exist. Now that I brought it to your mind, your attention, then you recreate them again. Are you following me?
Right, okay.
Yeah. See, everything is being generated from your mind, right? But it's all your mind. In other words, meditation is just a tool that you get in order to create the right state of mind to access another vibratory plane of reality. That's why people are starting to go to a higher plane of existence or starting to transform. They start feeling a lot. They start feeling heat and they start vibrating a lot. They start feeling themselves vibrate. Have you all experienced that before? Or when you're coming in and out of your body, you could be laying on the couch, you wake up, you feel like everything is shaking, vibrating around. You try to hold on real quick. Yeah, that's because you're coming in and out of your body, or from one state to another, from the spiritual to the physical realm and back and forth. That's all. The spirit is vibrating faster than the flesh, in the same way steam is vibrating faster than ice. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
So people that teach, like people that have like teachings about out of body experience, like how to have one, how to sit down and have an out of body experience. Is those teachings pretty much like a different tool, like meditation, to reach that realm?
It depends on the teacher. Now, let me say this. What I was talking about, the master teaching pretty afternoon, and I think it's the best advice. You have to remember there's no handbook to give a person on how to achieve OBE, out-of-body experiences, or anything dealing with the spiritual realm. That's information. But when he writes certain books or certain orders like AEO, the Ancient Episcopal of Melchizedek, those books are just directional. So he's giving you information to give you an indicator or giving you an idea or a concept of how to do it. But there's no, like, take this step and then 3 times to the right. There's no, like, a combination to a safe and then it just pops open. It's not like that. There's no way to physically describe to a person how to access a spiritual place, right? Let me say this. When you start talking about the spirit, trying to get to the spiritual plane, the first thing to communicate in the physical, you have to deal with the larynx, which is the physical. Are you following me? So you lose something in the communication right away. There's no way to physically describe a spiritual experience. There's just no way to do it. But you can give people, like you told me before, I try to give you, like, what did Jesus give them? Parables. That's what the Master Teacher gives us is parables. These books of parables are indicators, giving you ideas, right? But you have to find your own way ultimately. That's the answer to the question that you're seeking for.
Just wondering that.
That's real. I can make up a lot of things that sound real heavy, but the truth is you got to find your way. All people can do is give you indicators about it, or try to give you, try to describe their experience to you as best they can in physical terms, right? But if you're trying to access, for example, to go out of your body, I would suggest for me that I lay straight on the bed with my spine straight, my ears lined up with my shoulders lined up with my hips lined up with my feet about 2 feet apart, take about 7 to 9 deep breaths until I feel that feeling of euphoria, then pull my lights up past the laryngeal and pineal gland up through the etheric cord with my mind, right? And then try to imagine myself, I'm trying to say this fast, imagine myself looking down from the ceiling down at my body, and when I can see my body on the bed, then I'm free to travel to go see anybody else I want. Once I achieve I make myself perceive myself as outside of my body, I can travel, which is only an illusion, because when I want to go see this brother or sister, all I got to do is focus on them, because everything is inside me, and I know that. Are you following me?
Right.
See? I don't want to move too far ahead. See, I want to answer the question for you where you at, right? Because, you know what I'm saying?
Right, what you said right there just triggered something.
That's the ultimate of it.
When you said that you wanted to go meet someone, right, like, say you're, like the people that's on the non-physical side right now, like
let me say this here.
Or whatever.
You ever stand in front of a woman before and she just talking to you, running them out, but you got another woman on the other side of town, you thinking about her? And she said, nigga, I don't know where your mind at, but it ain't here with me, right? And you say, what, baby?
Right.
What did I say? You make up something because you didn't hear? So you really wasn't there. Your body was there, but you was on the other side of town with Shirley, wasn't you? But you hadn't physically moved, have you?
Nope, just in mind.
That's the only thing that matters. I try to tell you, it's all in your mind anyhow.
Okay, so if that's the case, then could you like access people that's on the non-physical realm through out-of-body experience?
Yeah, if you want to call it out-of-body experience, it's not literally out of your body, but if that's what you need, in other words, whatever you need, that's what I mean by listen, of course you can get in communication with anybody that you focus on, right? in your mind. Let me give you an example, right? I want you all right now to focus on your 12th grade teacher. See yourself sitting in the classroom, and it's just before summer break, right? And the windows are open, you know what I mean? Can you go back to the scene, see who's in front of you in the seat and all that? If you really want to focus on that, you can focus down to remember what you had on that day. You can see where the clock is on the wall, where the blackboards are, what kind of desk you had, right? You can see the front of the school. You can see, in other words, my point is, if you get more involved and intricate and vivid into that scene or that reality than you are into this one, then your chair will be empty because you'll be there.
Okay.
I know you didn't ask me all that, but that's you actually teleport. In other words, the master teacher can be in 19 places at once. Ask him about it.
All does that mean?
If all is in you, what could be outside of you? Or who could be outside of you?
So
everything, understand, let me say this. Everything is inside of you, including your ancestors. So you have to learn how to dial into that frequency, just like a telephone call you make. It could be 10,000 calls on one line, but you got me because you dialed a specific number or frequency. If you were one digit off, you get somebody else, right? But sometimes while you're talking on the phone, somebody else would hit a frequency accidentally, and you say, who is this? I'm in Canada. How'd you get on? I don't know. Who are you, right? Or the taxi driver comes over the television, right? Because the frequencies get crossed. Or you get a sense of deja vu, like you know what's around the corner, you've never been there before, because the frequencies cross. Because at some level of your consciousness, you are Baut, you are all. So you are your ancestors, right? See, think about yourself as consciousness, pure consciousness, right? And that's all you are before you created anything. So that, well, there's nobody here but you. So you knew that you were omnipresent in every place at one time and all wise, etc. But that was conceptually, not through experience. So what you opted to do is divide certain aspects of your consciousness up in the cells that you describe now as human beings and other angelic beings, etc. Now, in order to keep them from waking up in the castle, so to speak, you erase the memory from them so that they woke up as enocytes, forgetful beings, in the same way that Sybil might have 7 different personalities, and 6 of them are kind of asleep, while one of them thinks that she's the real woman, right? But they emerge at different times, right? But the truth of it is they're all still her, right? Are you following me? Right. So what I'm saying is that the absolute reality of it is your ancestors are you anyway. So it depends on what frequency or what frequency you dial it into. Just like your third eye is just like a remote control that changes channels on the TV, right? So what you see or what you're in contact, it depends on what frequency you dial into or tune into. That's all. See, let me say what you call in reality. It's just like if you standing up in a big gym and it's black inside the auditorium. And there's different scenes, the living rooms and bedrooms in there, just like on settings in a movie or where they have a show at. Bedrooms over here, kitchens over there. And you standing in the middle of the floor and you got your flashlight in the dark, flashing at one scene all the time, your whole life. So that's reality to you. That's reality to you. I'm asking you now to turn your flashlight to the left or the right and realize that there are other, you can dial into other visions, to other realities. Are you following me? Your ancestors are in the room too, but you're not focused on them. So when they come to you, you and them are vibrating on the same frequency. When they come to you in a dream, for example, your grandmother's to the foot of your bed to give you a message. Are you following me?
Okay.
Then you tuned into them like you could be to a person next to you, and you say to yourself, I feel you, nigga. I know what you... Man, I didn't say nothing. That's all right. I feel you. I knew you was about to say that, right? I picked the phone. I knew you... I was just about to call you. You must have heard me. You must have felt me thinking about you. I knew you was going to call me. I knew that was you, right? You ever do that? Yeah, because you and that person would tune into the same frequency. You were vibrating on the same frequency. Are you following me? So that they automatically appeared to you. Look at that. Speaking of the devil, we just talked you up, right? Look at here you come right there. There you is. We were just talking about you, see? When you got in line with his frequency and you created him and he manifested it. You turned to that channel. Are you following me? And that's the way that you tune into your ancestors. Are you following me?
Right.
Focus on them. Concentrate on them. Meditate on them. They'll appear. There's no spatial proximity to say that they're over here or over there. There's no such thing as, even phonetically speaking, you know the master teacher told, if you take the word there, take the T off, what does it spell?
Yeah.
Or where, take the W off.
Yeah.
And somebody supposedly dies, they go to the where after.
Yeah.
Everything is here and now. Remember that. Including them. In other words, you're the author of the story, and the characters that you have in your story are just different expressions of one mind. I don't care if you have 22 men, women, and children, a drunk Indian, and a dog. They get their thoughts, personality, and their characteristics from you because you're the author of the story. It's only one creator. He's created these different characters in the story, but they're all you. So you can focus on Alice or Joe or any character in your story whenever you get ready, including your ancestors. Sometimes I have to just let go now. Ain't that loving you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, indeed.